In the previous video, we introduced how to create playbacks. So now we have some playbacks like this. Here are the cue lists playback and cue playback we made before. In this video, we will introduce the time settings of playbacks. There are two types of playback time: global time and attribute time. We will first introduce the time settings for cue lists playback. So we can press Edit Time. Then select the cue lists playback we have. We can see that the cue lists playback has 4 global times: delay and fade in, out delay, and out fade. For these time settings, the delay in and out delay times will start together. Fade in starts after delay in finished, while out fade time starts after out delay finished. The out fade time is only used on dimming channels. It will be used as the out delay time between the cues if the coming cue does not have a dim off effect. For example, the cue list runs like this now. Each cue has 1 second on both fade in and out fade. If I want cue 2 to use 5 seconds to fade in, and after staying for 1 second then cue 3 fades in, then we can select the cue 2 and set fade in to 5 and set out delay also to 5. We can see that playback is now running with the new runtime. Next, we'll introduce the attribute time. For example, I want to set the attribute time for cue 3. There are only fade in and delay in for attribute times. We can switch different attribute time settings by pressing the attribute buttons. After setting the attribute time, the channels contained in the attribute will not use global time, unless you press the option, Use Global. Other unset attributes will continue to use global time. For example, the cue 3 uses 1 second to fade in, but I want the color will not change until 2 seconds later. So we select the cue 3. We press the option, Attribute Time, and press the attribute button, Color, to switch to the setting items. Then we press Color Delay and enter 2. We can see now the cue 3 uses 1 second to fade in and stops at the position for 1 second. After that, changes color. These are the time settings of the cue lists playback. Next, we will talk about the time settings for cue playback. Press Edit Time, then for example we select Playback 1. There are only 3 types of global time for cue playback: delay and fade in and out fade. The fade in starts after delay in finishes, but the out fade starts only when fading out the cue. For example, now I set the fade in time to 2. Then, we can see the playback 1 uses 2 seconds to fade in. The attribute time settings are the same as the cue list's playback. The overlap option allows you to run a series of fixtures with a chasing effect in one step. The setting range of overlap is from 0 to 100%. When the overlap is 100%, we can see all fixtures will fade in at the same time. But when we set it to 50%, then the second fixture will not start until the first fixture is halfway through fading. The runtime will be divided equally for each fixture, and the running order of the fixtures follows the setting of the fixture order. The order can be modified in the Fixture Order menu. The snap percentage can control when the instant channels activate. If it is in 0, the channel activates at the beginning when the cue fades in. But when it is 100%, the channel activates at the end of the cue. For example, we set the snap percentage for playback 2. And set it to 100%. Then set the fade in to 2 seconds. Now, when we run the playback 2, the color doesn't change at the beginning but after 2 seconds. Please pay attention that the global time and attribute time are unavailable for cue list's playback and chase mode. For example, we press Edit Playback. Then we select the playback 6 on the list and press Option Chase Mode. We can see the cue list's playback has been changed to chase mode. So we fade in the playback 6 again. The chase will run in a new runtime. To set the runtime of the chase playback, we tap on the information window here. Then use the Control wheel D to set the speed value. To set the cross value, we can hold down the button Shift, then use the Control wheel D to set the value. So we can see the chase playback now runs with the timing we set. Here above are the time settings of playbacks.